Welcome to another episode of the I'm F.I.N.E. podcast, where a couple of knuckle-dragging veterans unpack the world of mental health as unprofessionally and informally as possible. I am Eric Peterson.
And I'm Brad Stosiek.
And today's episode is about the dangers of perfectionism. It's that time of year again, full of joy, chaos, and for some of us, an overwhelming pressure to make everything perfect. So we are going to talk about what perfectionism is, how it can be helpful, how it can be harmful, and how you can overcome your need to make everything perfect. So sit back and relax as we do our best to take you from being freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional to truly being fine about being perfectly imperfect.
Welcome to the I'm F.I.N.E. podcast with your freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional hosts, Eric Peterson and Brad Stosiek.
Great title.
Dude, that was really good.
Great title.
That was good.
Yeah?
Best episode yet.
You know what I miss? I miss the movie phone sounding guy on every movie trailer. Like, remember like 90s, early 2000s, where it was like, there was a man.
Yeah.
Like that voice. That was like every trailer had that voice. And then it just went away. We didn't even get to talk about it.
No.
Sorry.
It's okay.
How are you, man?
I'm great, dude. I feel awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, it's good. It's perfect. We're coming into the holiday season.
We are.
I enjoy Thanksgiving. I really do.
I do.
We were talking about this yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about how because of your health journey, the fitness journey, everything you've been doing, it's reframed your thought about food. And we were talking about it yesterday, and we were talking about the episode with Emily.
Yeah.
Where she was, like a food psychologist. Is that the right terminology?
I believe so, yeah.
And how much she kind of helped change our perceptions too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you were talking about how you didn't like how certain events were centered around food. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, so people make Thanksgiving specifically about food. It's like, no, you're not making memories about food or watching football. What did you say? You said you invite people over for dinner because they come over, you have drinks, you play games before, you eat dinner. Afterwards, you have drinks, you play more games, you laugh, you make memories. That's what it's about. The food is just an added bonus. The food is just something. So if you start looking at food as something just going to fuel you instead of something that like gives you pleasure, like Emily said, it's totally life-changing.
Yeah, and there's some foods that I always look forward to around the holidays.
Yeah.
Which is like weird because I felt like I was like 30, maybe 31 years old when I realized like I can just make stuffing like whenever. Like I don't have to wait till Thanksgiving. I do it because it's Tuesday morning because I'm an adult. But like those types of foods, for what I like them, I only eat them around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So like for me, I look forward to some of those meals because it's like a nostalgic thing. But again, like the overeating, obviously that's an issue.
Yeah.
But when I think about going to dinner, like if I think about having dinner with my family or dinner with my friends, like we're all going to someone's house, in my mind, that means I'm going to come over like a few hours before dinner.
Yeah.
We're going to hang out, chill, bullshit. Our kids are going to play. We'll play a game or something, maybe, whatever, just hang out. And then we'll have dinner, have a good time, and then do something after dinner, whether it's just hang out, bullshit, like whatever, just have a good time. You know what I mean? And so it's that whole thing. Like that's how my family is on my dad's side. And then that's how like the Filipino culture, I feel like also is. It's a whole celebration around a meal. I enjoy it for the same reasons because it's just, it's all tied together when I think about Thanksgiving, holidays, stuff like that. I think about memories like those. And but I understand what you're saying about the relationship with food. And, you gotta be careful.
And also, I know you're not a big sweet person. You're more of like a bread guy. I know you said.
I love carbs so much.
Dude, so another thing I started doing is viewing sugar as something as harmful as like heroin. right? And you're like, whoa, dude, you're crazy. How can you compare sugar to heroin? Well, think about it. Heroin kills you, right? Like, it can really do some damage. I don't really know what happens if you do heroin. It's probably pretty bad, though, right?
Yeah.
If you eat, sugar, diabetes, heart disease, all high blood pressure, all that stuff.
It takes a little bit longer than heroin
yes,
to kill you. But
yes. I mean, that's I don't know.
sugar's still dangerous. Of course it's dangerous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you lose sight of like how many things have sugar in it and stuff like that. And then around the holidays, it's really hard. Thanksgiving, not so much, but
Christmas, though.
Christmas cookies. Again, dude, desserts. I love carbs, man. So I'm all about that shit. I don't like cake. I've never really liked cake. I've always been more of a pie person. But also cookies. Like, fuck yeah, dude. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard.
Yeah, but it also feels a lot better to not feel like a turd the next day after you stuff your face with 3 rows of Oreos. And
that's true, but have you ever taken an Oreo and used it as a spoon to eat Nutella?
I'll be right back.
Dude. Yeah. That also feels pretty great. But I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with your decisions and what you're saying, for sure. And being that we're coming around the holidays and we're just getting out of over the election, I just feel there's still like some residual tension and things. And I think that plays into it a little bit, but we're getting, when you get closer to the holidays, like a lot of people I feel like get stressed out. Like my wife will admit that she gets more stressed out around the holidays because it's a lot more running around, going to events, doing all this other stuff, doing these celebrations with your family. And then if you're hosting, like whenever somebody talks about hosting something at their house, I immediately start feeling it. I'm like, oh man, like I just feel like I love it and it's great, but also sometimes it can be exhausting because you want it to be this beautiful, perfect event with your family or your loved ones.
I know. I feel like hosting just bugs me because I feel like everybody's on the same page that nobody gives a crap what your house looks like.
Every guy is on that page. I don't know because I say the same thing. You walk into a house and somebody's like, "I'm so sorry, it looks like this." I'm like, "Listen, ma'am, we're all doing our best, okay? Like it's fine. I don't judge you because there's clothes on the ground or whatever. Like it's fine. You know what I mean?
Like, dude, I'm blind. It's not even that bad. Like, I don't care.
I just,
It's not that serious.
I understand that you want to keep your house clean and things like that, but like you shouldn't guilt yourself when you are having whatever your life is, whatever your situation is. Like if there's a reason why you weren't able to get everything picked up and perfect, you know what? Like it's okay. It's fine. You know what I mean? Like, and don't be the type of person that makes someone feel bad about that type of shit.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, and I credit my mom a lot. Like my mom was always that type of person. Whenever I would start to get in my head about something and I would be like I was grilling something once for dinner and I couldn't grill it. I couldn't like get it done in time. And I was just like, I felt so terrible. Like I was making this meal for my family, it was my parents and my wife and my kids. And whatever I was grilling wasn't done in time. And I made some other stuff too. And my mom was just like immediately just like the cooler. She was just like, "Hey, don't worry about it. We'll take it off the grill." Because something was wrong with my grill. She's like, "We'll take it off the grill, throw it in the oven. It'll be fine. We can whip this up super quick. We'll eat this. And then that'll be ready in a little bit. It's fine. Like, don't worry about it." You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
that's something I've learned and I try to do for other people when I can. You know, it's hard. You got to practice it, especially if like you're annoyed or frustrated at the time. Sometimes it's hard to find that peace again. But like if I get caught in a moment where I can tell somebody is flustered because something's not going the way they want it to go, I try to do my best to be like, "Hey, like it's okay." You know, try not to add stress to that situation. But either way, it's a very important topic when we're coming into the holidays, and perfectionism also plays a pretty big role, I think, in a lot of service members and a lot of veterans too. So we're going to talk about how being a perfectionist can lead to a lot of extra stress during the holidays and how to give yourself permission to let that go. So First, to define perfectionism, perfectionism is the condition, state, or quality of being free or as free as possible from all flaws or defects. Also, the relentless pursuit of flawlessness and the fear of failure. Question, Brad.
Yes. Was I supposed to read the sources yet?
I thought we already did read the sources.
We did no such thing, sir.
Damn it, Brad. That's why you're here.
Hey, that's why I get paid the big bucks, man.
That's why you get paid the big bucks.
You guys are getting paid for this?
Brad, before I get any further, what are our sources for this episode?
Absolutely, sir. They are OxfordDictionary.com, MedicalNewsToday.com, PsychCentral.com, and the American Psychology Association.org.
See, forgetting to list our sources immediately is going to get us kicked down to the 173rd best mental health podcast in Cambodia. And I can't deal with that type of rejection.
No, I know.
You know what I mean?
It's awful. I do know what you mean.
I tell you, I emailed that guy back.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
And?
Did not respond.
Dang it.
Man. Okay, as I was saying, so the definition of perfectionism, we know what that is. We know people in our lives that strive for that perfect persona. Is there anything that you can, like, when you think of perfect, is there anything that like comes to mind as like that's the perfect thing? Or perfect person, I'll say. 2.
Person?
Yes.
No.
Keanu Reeves. Not even a question.
Shit.
Yeah.
Forgot about him.
He's
pretty nice.
I think he's perfect.
Yeah, he's pretty.
But when you think
Ryan Reynolds?
I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, because that's just like perfect physique. I don't know.
Sure.
He can get annoying after a while, I think. Anyway. All right, let's see. Do I think anything is perfect?
Yeah, perfect.
Right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Not like right now, but I mean like right
never mind.
now.
Fuck you.
No. no. You wow.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a really good. Oh, that's awesome. That's very positive.
Yeah, I think right now is perfect because really technically that's all there is right now. And unless you're getting like froze to death or smoted or smitten.
That's when you get kicked out of a castle, isn't it?
What's it?
Exiled.
What's the thing where like Zeus smites you or
with a lightning bolt?
oh yeah, smited. Anyway, smitted.
Done smitted.
Anyway,
Zeus done smitted. Yeah. Sorry. All right. Yeah.
So like that's I forgot what I was saying.
You had a good point.
I did.
I think.
Oh,
You got it.
right now, the being right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, unless you're actively being like smoted or shot or stabbed or frozen or anything like that,
Being in this moment is a perfect thing. Like, I mean,
yeah,
I'll give you that.
Yeah,
I can't think of anything else that's like perfect. It's just this unattainable fucking thing that we've created in our heads as being important. You know what I mean? Like
yes.
Perfection. I don't know what like anything that is truly perfect. You know what I mean? Other than Keanu Reeves.
In baseball, if a pitcher gets 27 strikeouts, I believe, or 27 outs, that's a perfect game.
Perfect game in terms of his pitching abilities, but not a perfect game as in a perfect game. But still,
a perfect.
Yes,
what do you mean?
A perfect game for him. It might not be a perfect game for the other players, even if he pitched a perfect game.
I mean, they'd still have to at least score 1 run.
Yeah, but I'm saying like somebody could have like tripped and fucking broke his nose or some shit. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do we mean?
Gotcha.
Fully in terms of perfection. Like perfection means perfect in all senses of the word.
So the whole team.
Completely flawless. What exists that's without flaw?
Right now.
Other than that, everything else is flawed to some degree.
Yeah.
I agree. Know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's just this unattainable thing that just creates all this additional stress in our lives, yet we feel like we have to be perfect. We have to make our houses perfect and our family look perfect. And I got to post the perfect pictures on fucking social media, how perfect my fucking lunch is or whatever. Like, it's too much, dude. It's just too much. it's understandable, and I'll get into it here in a second, of all the different issues that being so focused on being perfect can cause. And it differs from having high standards. I'm not saying it's bad to have high standards. It's great to have high standards. I believe in certain aspects of my life, I have high standards.
Absolutely, yes.
And it's important. You know what I mean? But you have to figure out how to differentiate between that and like this unattainable other thing. You know what I mean? So I read about 2 subject matter experts in perfectionism, Gordon Flett, who is the professor in the Faculty of Health at York University in Ontario, Canada, and Paul Hewitt, who's the professor of psychology at the University of British Columbia. Together, the 2 psychologists defined 3 main facets or types of perfectionism. One is self-oriented, so setting unrealistically high expectations for oneself. The second is other-oriented, so holding others to unattainable standards. And the third is socially prescribed, feeling external pressure to be perfect. A study conducted by Thomas Curran, a lecturer in the Department for Health at the University of Bath in the UK, and Andrew Hill of York St. John University, also in the UK. And in that study, they found that socially prescribed perfectionism, so the feeling external pressure to be perfect, is the most debilitating of all 3 forms. In socially prescribed perfectionism, individuals believe their social context is excessively demanding, that others judge them harshly, and that they must display perfection to secure approval.
High school.
Bro. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. Like, you think everybody's judging you and you have to act a certain way so everybody accepts you. That was school. That was the military. That is your job. That is everywhere, bro.
Guess what? It's not.
What?
Right now. And you know what? When I thought of that, you know what I thought of? Taylor Swift, High School. Have you heard that song on her new album? I feel so high school.
No, dude. No, I have not.
Every
I don't fault you for it. Shake It Off's like one of my fucking workout jams. But
dude, look at you. Look at you. And it's like, and she like rambles on about like a prinkle and crinkle and time. And there's part where it's like, and she's like, I stifle my sighs watching American Pie with you on a Friday
Jake,
night.
I hope you leave every bit of this in.
Dude, that song slaps.
What does that have to do with perfectionism? Or you were just getting back into a memory of like high school?
That had nothing to do with perfectionism, but that's how. Oh, it did. That's how I wanted to answer the question. Like, what do you think of? But I just said high school instead of singing it. But I sang it anyway.
Yeah. Well, high school, school in general. Again, military. Dude, that's everywhere. Yeah. Everywhere I feel like we go, especially in like the Western civilization themed models or whatever, is like, you go into a group and immediately you feel judged. Mm-hmm. And immediately when you feel judged, you feel self-conscious. And like you start to get stressed out and you're like, oh no, okay, what do I do to like fucking fit in? All right, I have to set this unattainable goal. Like I have to try to be perfect or whatever. Or it doesn't necessarily come from just that place. It can come from a lot of other places. But I just feel like I understand how socially prescribed perfectionism is such a debilitating thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that fear. Like I definitely understand that.
I also think there's a lot of like what's in it for me too in that part of it. Like if I don't, like I have to join these people to benefit me. Yeah. Like you know what I'm saying?
You don't feel like you're being yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just the worst. And as Curran and Hill point out, self-oriented perfectionism, which occurs when individuals attach irrational importance to being perfect, hold unrealistic expectations of themselves, and are punitive in their self-evaluations, is linked with clinical depression, eating disorders, and premature death among college students and young people. That premature death one always gets me.
I'll say, get you every time.
Like, may cause upset stomach. You could fucking die before you're supposed to die. Like,
dude, I mean, they
Like,
gotta
what?
tell you, right?
premature death. Like, there was a group of people sitting around a table in an office that didn't have any windows, and they were talking about, like, listen, how do we say that this might fucking kill you? But it doesn't sound like terrible. We'll call it, like, premature death. Like, how did that test? Is that okay? Yeah, call it that. It might call premature death. Might cause premature death. Self-critical perfectionism is also said to raise the risk of bipolar disorder. Some studies suggest that it may explain why people with bipolar disorder are also experiencing anxiety. Why do you think that people think that they have to be perfect?
Why do I think people think they have to be perfect?
Yeah.
It's an act. It's like
Keeping up with the Joneses.
yeah, it's for other people. It's not for them.
Yeah.
They like you said earlier on Facebook or whatever social media, people post all these pictures of like, this is my perfect family. This is like you said, and that's not it, man.
Yeah.
Because you're hurting yourself and you're hurting. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like, and it's hard because on one hand, you want to share this great thing that you're experiencing, whatever that is, this moment, this thing that you're eating, this place that you're at. And I understand that part. But when we only put that out there, then it, like at a certain point now, it becomes a problem because we're comparing ourselves to that. Just like, the old thought process was like we would always compare ourselves to, our neighbor's car or their house or their TV. But now it's like, oh, Brad's doing this. Brad's succeeding in this. Now that means I have to do good in this. Like I have to make myself feel better because I feel vulnerable. I feel self-conscious. Like I feel called out. Like it's just such a dangerous thing, so I can see, I guess, why people would think that they have to portray a perfect lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I find that very different from this. So why do you think service members and veterans think that they have to be perfect?
Because this one's better. This is more of like a selfish reason for a veteran or service member. I think being perfect as a service member means like perfection means getting the mission accomplished. Perfection means picking up rank. Perfection means everybody makes it out alive. So like perfection means you're doing you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, good answer.
Yeah.
Because I when you think of your perfect soldier or perfect Marine, perfect whatever,
Yeah.
everybody's got one.
Oh,
I
yeah.
definitely wasn't. But like when I close my eyes, I can see who the perfect soldier in my platoon was. When I was in boot camp, who the perfect soldier was. Like, and that was the one who had everything just dialed in.
Like the perfect scores on all the fitness
Yep.
tests, the rifle range.
Yeah.
Like they picked up sergeant in like 2 years. Like
They knew their job.
Mhm.
They did their job through and through. They knew all the ins and
Yeah.
outs of every weapon system, everything. Like they were the perfect soldier.
Yep.
And
Meritorious corporal, meritorious
you
sergeant.
look at that as a positive thing.
Oh, absolutely.
It
Yeah,
can
yeah.
save lives. In the military, perfection can. I'm not saying it can't in the civilian world. I know that there's places where it can do that too. But like in the military, I think it's more associated with like saving a life. Like, listen, that in this role it's for war, and with war comes death. So like if you're very good at your job, hopefully you won't die and the people around you won't die. So it's super important to like try as hard as you can to be the best.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But
That's a very big but.
in the civilian life,
Doesn't translate well.
doesn't always translate well. Sometimes can lead to burnout or premature death, as them scientists call it.
And yes.
Premature death. So again, like on the positive side, perfectionism, there is that drive for success. Attention to detail is a very good thing, and a commitment to improvement is also a very good thing. Like I always believe things can always be better. So to have that mindset, that's a good thing. And there's plenty of times where perfectionism had helped me, like in the military with things. Like there was definitely so many things I was bad at, not, just definitely imperfect, but wanting to emulate that perfect soldier, perfect Marine, airman, sailor, whatever, You know what I mean? Like, you took pride in that. You took pride in how your uniform looked and how your bunk looked and how all of your shit was put away. Like, you took pride in that, you know? And so, and you get rewarded for that. You know what I mean? Like, if you're the guy who has all your shit unfolded and just laying everywhere, they immediately associate that with you being a giant bag of shit. You know what I mean?
Yes, they do.
Like, you're definitely like, how are your socks rolled? Grab the ruler.
Yep.
Fucking measure that shit.
Yep.
What is that? 2 3/4? Piece of shit.
Yep. Dude, that was when at boot camp the drill instructor would say, "Okay, corporal," or "Okay, recruit Stosiek, say it," and I'd say, "Aye, sir. No sweat, no sweat. Just give him my 10%." And all the recruits would go, "Thank you, recruit Stosiek."
Oh my God, dude. It's like, yeah, you know, they kind of want you to be perfect in the military.
Yes.
Like, they're breaking you down and building you back up again. There's this amazing scene of, do you remember Malcolm in the Middle?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember that the middle, you know, there's 4 brothers, not the oldest, but the second oldest, Reese went to fucking boot camp.
And when he was super young and he joined the military early, like, you know, he was like 14.
And they were like, he was so dumb.
Yes.
And he was just doing exactly what he was told. And the drill sergeant was like in tears, like, he's the perfect soldier. Because you just did exactly what the drill sergeant said, exactly the way he said to do it.
Yeah.
Which is perfection. The military wants you to be perfect. You have to walk and run in step with like 40 other fucking people. You know what I mean? Like,
and now you wonder why I'm so good at throwing axes and archery and bags.
You're just too dang perfect.
Because I wake up and just piss
excellence. Few negative aspects with perfectionism. Stress, pretty bad. Talked about that before. That leads to like a lot of things, like premature death.
I was going to say premature death, mostly.
Burnout, procrastination, and self-doubt. Procrastination surprised me. I was like, what do you mean procrastination? But I'll get into that. I'll explain why that's actually, it makes a lot more sense. It has a link to anxiety, depression, feelings of inadequacy. Why? Because we're not perfect. So, like, if you try to be perfect and you're like, fuck, I'm not perfect, I must be a piece of shit. Like, you know what I mean? You just jump right to that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's going to lead to depression. It's going to lead to anxiety. Like, why am I not perfect? I need to be better. I need to be like this person, this influencer, my neighbor, whatever it is. Like, you're comparing yourself to somebody else. That's going to stress you out. And then you don't feel like you're adequate. You don't feel like you're good enough. Anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation are only some of the mental health problems that specialists have repeatedly linked with this form of perfectionism, or with perfectionism. One older study, for example, found that over half of people who died by suicide were described by their loved ones as perfectionists. Another study found that more than 70% of young people who died by suicide were in the habit of creating an exceedingly high expectation of themselves. These trends have been rising over the past few decades, particularly in English-speaking cultures. Again, I feel like that's like Western versus Eastern civilization. What? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Professor Thomas Curran and Andrew Hill that I referenced earlier studied more than 40,000 American, Canadian, and British college students and found that between 1989 and 2016, the proportion of people who exhibited traits of perfectionism rose by up to 33%. What happened in the last 30 years? Social media. I don't know. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? Again, like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we want to try to be more perfect. You know what I mean? We're constantly being shown images and told this is perfect. Like, I don't have the studies in front of me, but I've read studies about how younger, like teenage girls, the suicide rate has gotten so much higher. And it's like, because I feel like there's even so much more pressure on them to be perfect.
Yeah.
You're showing them this picture of this woman or whatever and saying, this is perfection. This is what you need to be. You know what I mean? Like, to say that to a kid, that they need to be something else. Like, oh my God, the amount of anxiety and stress that would put on you from such a young age.
Yeah.
Like, thankfully, I don't know, did you feel like you ever, like, we were raised in an environment where like perfection was, you know, expected?
No, but
Good.
I expected it from myself
Sure.
a lot, like in sports and school and everything.
Oh yeah.
Like
You
I
can be hard on
expected.
yourself.
Yeah, but no, I didn't live. No.
That's good.
Mm-mm.
That's so good.
What
And
about you? I'm gonna guess no.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Like I said, my mom, super supportive. Like she was great when things were going wrong. Like she was the type of person when things were getting bad, she got better in those moments. You know what I mean? Where you're like, man, and that's another thing that I've always tried to emulate. My dad was always just super rational and laid back and like can just roll with the punches no matter what.
He
so
seems
like
that type of guy.
he's super chill. So like, yeah, I thankfully my parents showed me that you need to have high expectations. You need to work hard, but you don't need to be fucking perfect, you know?
Yep.
And, but if I had all of the influences of social media and stuff when I was a kid, I don't know. I don't know how much different I would be. I feel like kids seem like they're more anxious now, but I could be totally wrong. I'm not basing that on anything outside of my personal experience. But so I run a mentor program for our local high school, and it's not for the whole school. It's just for the kids that want to take the class. And I do it with the Mantino Chamber of Commerce. And these kids, like, they know what anxiety is. When I was in high school, I didn't know what anxiety was, but these kids are well aware. And that's great to a degree. I think it's mostly great to be self-aware and understand this is what I'm feeling. But I also just worry, it's like, man, like, why is it that we've developed a culture that's like stressing kids out so much? You know what I mean? Like, what are we throwing at them all the time? You know, it's just a lot. This idea, again, of perfectionism, you know? However, the ills of perfectionism do not stop at mental health. Some studies have found that high blood pressure is prevalent among perfectionist people, and other researchers have even linked the trait with cardiovascular disease, which isn't surprising. Like, if it causes stress, stress is going to cause you to have a higher blood pressure. You know what I mean? So, like, it's going to result in that shit. Again, I've said this like once every other episode. It blows my mind how much just the way you think could fucking kill you. Like, you know what I mean?
Death.
Like, it's crazy how strong the power of the quality of your thoughts is, you know?
Yes.
Anyway, additionally, when faced with physical illness, perfectionists have a harder time coping. One study found that the trait predicts early death among those who have diabetes, and research conducted by Professor Flett and his colleagues found out that people with Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, or who have had a heart attack have a much harder time recovering. As Professor Flett wrote, a link between perfectionism and serious illness is not surprising given that an unrelenting perfectionism can be a recipe for chronic stress. Perfectionism often verges on like self-abuse. There are actually close ties between perfectionism and procrastination. So this is what I touched on earlier. I didn't think about that at first. And then as I read into this, I was like, yep, totally understand it. So perfectionism and procrastination are very closely linked, often forming a counterproductive cycle. And here is the ways that they are related. Number one, fear of failure. So perfectionists often procrastinate because they fear they won't meet their high standards. This fear of not doing something perfectly can lead to delaying tasks entirely. Dude, yes, I understand that. Like, the idea of doing something is so daunting because you want to do it perfect that you just end up not doing it at all. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I have felt that for sure. I also feel like as a husband, that's nice.
Yeah.
Because like if your spouse, your partner is yelling at you for not doing something, you just tell them that you're not procrastinating. You're just too perfect.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll go over real well.
Stay tuned for our next episode. Husbands that got viciously murdered by their wives. It's like, I'm sorry, I can't take the garbage out. I'm just too perfect. I just can't do it because I'd have to do it in such a perfect way. I'm just going to lay here.
Welcome to the new I'm F.I.N.E podcast with your host, Amanda Stosiek and Ashley Peterson.
Yeah, they would do great.
They would. They'd crush it.
Yeah. Overwhelming standards, number 2. So setting unrealistically high goals can make tasks feel daunting. The larger the perceived effort is to achieve perfection, the more likely a person may avoid starting altogether. And like I was just saying, if you make it too perfect, it's going to scare the shit out of you. Like, yeah, I understand that. Number 3, analysis paralysis, which is just fun to say.
Analysis paralysis. It is pretty fun.
Yeah. Perfectionists often overanalyze every step of the process, seeking the best way to proceed. This overthinking can lead to delays as they become stuck in the planning phase instead of taking action. So again, kind of like 1, 2, and 3 was kind of in the same vein for me. So like before starting the podcast, I was talking to Jake. We talked about it on Jake's podcast, on the Kankakee podcast, which you should definitely also check out because it was a great episode that you and I got to do. We didn't even talk about that.
That was pretty awesome.
But what we talked about in there with Jake, him and I talked about podcast stuff for like 6 months before we started the podcast because I'm like looking up this microphone and this stand and then this camera and then that. Like I'm looking into all this stuff and I'm getting so into the weeds. And thankfully our producer Jake was like, dude, you just need to start recording. Like we'll figure out the rest. Just start recording. And I was like, okay. You know what I mean?
Dude, I don't know what you mean. I am the exact opposite. I am really? So just like go with the flow.
I am sometimes.
Like, dude,
sometimes I am.
That's me all the time.
Yeah?
Like, man, we'll figure it out.
I have to get prepped to be in that mood. I can be in that mood, and I love being in that mood, but just naturally, and that's something I need to work on, I default, I think, into like just getting a little stressed out about things.
I was going to say, in all fairness, though, my stress level and like to-do list is pretty short compared to yours.
Oh my God. So many things all the time. I told you I used to write. I got this idea from my old boss, my friend Rob over at CertaPro. Like you take out a notepad and then just write everything you need to do, like first thing in the morning, and write down everything you need to do, and then like assign it all like a number from a priority perspective. Totally makes sense. I get too stressed out when I do that because then I end up getting like pages deep, and I'm like, oh no, like this is so much stuff. I don't want to look at all this.
Whole journal.
It's bad. Yeah. So yeah, that was analysis paralysis. Number 4, avoidance of criticism. So to avoid potential negative feedback or perceived inadequacy, perfectionists may delay completing or sharing their work. Procrastination becomes a way to avoid judgment. Number 5, cycle of guilt and stress. Procrastination often results in last-minute scrambling, leading to suboptimal results. For perfectionists, this creates guilt and reinforces the need for perfection in future tasks, perpetuating this cycle. Oh, yeah. I feel that one a little bit too. Because it's like you want something to be so perfect, you wait so long, but then it has to get done. And then you just got to scramble. You get it together. Now you feel like shit because it didn't look the way that you wanted it to look. So you get even more that way next time. So you're just perpetuating the cycle of bullshit. And then lastly, number 6, burnout risk. Constant striving for perfection increases mental fatigue. Procrastination may occur as a subconscious way to take a break, but it often leads to heightened stress when deadlines loom. Do any of those stick out to you as something that you've ever dealt with or felt, Bradley? Fear of failure, overwhelming standards, analysis paralysis, avoidance of criticism, cycle of guilt and stress, burnout risk.
I mean, I guess just Fear of failure?
Fear of failure. Yeah, man. Yeah,
fear of
definitely.
failure.
Yeah.
Burnout risk, I guess, depending on school. I was getting pretty burnt out. So yeah, school. Yeah.
Analysis paralysis.
Analysis. I want to just like make up a song to that, but I can't really. Like, I feel like that should be like a Schoolhouse Rock thing.
I miss Schoolhouse Rock. Maybe that's the problem with kids today. They don't have Schoolhouse
Or
Rock.
Magic School Bus or any of it.
Miss Frizzle liked to throw down.
Yeah, she did.
I love that show. What military branch is the most perfect?
In the Marine Corps.
I knew that's the branch that thinks they're the most perfect.
No, because we are the most perfect. What do you mean we think we are? What are you talking about?
That's fine.
What? Okay, Eric, what's the best branch of the military to you?
Space Force.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about them.
Bro.
You know what? Hang on. Ask me again.
What branch do you think is the most perfect?
Coast Guard.
No. I don't know. Coasties are great. I got one buddy of mine that's a coastie.
Really?
Yep.
I've never met.
Yeah.
Is that what they're called? Coasties?
I mean, that's what he called other guys. I don't know.
Oh.
Or maybe I made it up in my head. I'm pretty sure.
Well, it's the Marine Corps, so.
The Marine Corps, when I think of perfection, I get it. Like, because the Marines are more focused on a lot of the optics of things. So I understand.
Mission accomplishment. Our uniforms are the best ones out of all of them.
Your uniforms are solid, but I don't have a great. I was in the military in the worst time frame ever because I had, out of every uniform the United States Army has had, the fucking worst one were the ACUs. And I'm not apologizing at all for that. Everything about those uniforms were so stupid.
Yeah.
There was so much Velcro. Like, they're so dumb. And you look at the BDUs, the ones that, not Vietnam, but like Persian Gulf and stuff.
Yeah.
Those uniforms were cool. They had desert camos and stuff, but like those uniforms were cool looking. ACUs looked dumb as shit. And then I got out and they got cool ones. Marine Corps always had cool ones. Space Force, they're astronauts, bro. They got the best fucking uniforms. You know?
Like, no. They were like
I would say Air Force. Like the perfect military branch.
Yeah.
Maybe Air Force.
Yeah, probably.
Just judging them on their chow halls.
Dude,
They got panini presses.
That hurts my feelings.
Did you have a panini press?
No.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Yeah. Manis Air Base, Manis, Kyrgyzstan. That's where I learned what the fuck a panini press was. I didn't know what one was.
Yeah,
like I was a grunt. I was just like, ooh. I went into their DFAC, and we were coming into Afghanistan, and so you would go to Manis, Kyrgyzstan, however the fuck you pronounce it, and like their chow hall. It was an air base, and their chow hall was so nice. And and then they had like midnight rations, and so you'd go out there at night, and like they had the sandwich bar open, they had the fucking panini press. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, I didn't know what that was. So fancy. Like, they had the nicest shit, man.
Yeah,
like Air Force is up there. So now to put a holiday twist on this, how do you think societal expectations and cultural norms amplify perfectionism during the holiday season? Like perfect gifts, flawless decorations, ideal family gatherings. Like, what do you think?
I think all of it, dude. I think all of it's become mainstream, and it's all become like perfectionism.
Like those movies, like, and with streaming services, it's so bad because every streaming service has the same movie with the same white blonde chick. And it's a Christmas movie with some super handsome dude.
I know.
And it's like just them on the cover. Like there's so, and it's just throwing out like perfect couple, perfect whatever. But I guess a lot of those aren't necessarily great examples because they're coming from a place of imperfection with their life, and that's how they bumped into this guy in their hometown or whatever the fuck.
Oh my God, dude. What is like you talking about Hallmark movies? Like what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Like every streaming service has like those Hallmark movies now.
Oh,
like that Lacey Chabert chick from Mean Girls is in like 30% of them. Like I feel like.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's like you see like this perfect town with the perfect decorations.
Oh yeah.
And everything like that. Like I've always been more of a Christmas Vacation, like type of like, oh my God, I fucking love that movie so much.
Yes.
But yeah, like giving people the perfect gift, having that you want that perfect reaction. You're like, I hope I got this person that perfect thing. And you're so worried about how they're going to react, or you're going to have an event at your house and you need it to be perfect. You want everything to be perfect. Like I said before, my wife will admit to this. She gets a little stressed out sometimes, understandably so, when we're hosting something in her house. And like, I'll try to help. I'm sure I'm just fucking stuff up or getting in the way. But like, because you feel like it's a reflection of who you are when your family's coming over. You know what I mean? So you feel like you have to make it perfect. And, like me, I think about, nostalgia is a scary thing. So you think about the holidays when you were a kid. Hopefully you had really positive memories of your childhood and the holidays. So you're like, if that's the case, you're going to compare it to that, which is not fair because it's never going to be just like that.
Oh, no, not at all.
But you try to do things for your kids, right?
Yeah.
Like you try, like for my girls still on Christmas, like I'll do the boots with the flour to make it look like Santa Claus came out of our chimney. Like I'll fucking do that every year.
That's so cool.
And like the other year, there was no snow on the ground. Lily was 6 and she was like, there's no snow outside. And I was like, I forgot you guys are getting smart. So, but like I love doing things like that because you want to create, in your mind, you want to create the perfect holiday experience for your kids. Like that's how I feel. Like I want my kids to have the feelings that I had, the experiences that I had as a kid, which was like being in a family, like looking forward to talk to your aunt or your uncle or go hang out with your cousins or whatever, like really looking forward to that stuff. You're like, I want my kids to have that.
Yeah.
So I feel like that pushes you naturally to try to, you want everything to be perfect, which is again the scary thing sometimes, and not necessarily the most positive thing all the time, So some common triggers during the holidays might be overcommitting to social events or family obligations. Thankfully, like some families that are like super blended, where like they're blended. And then above them, that's a blended family, and above, like, it's a lot of blended families, which I know a lot of families like that. There's no issues with that. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying those people have to go to like 47 Thanksgivings.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, fuck that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that, especially when you have kids. We talked about this. Like now that I have kids, I'll go to like 2 places. And like, that's it. Yep. That's my thing. I'm not trying to be a dick, but like, man, I got kids. It's exhausting bringing them everywhere. I want them to have a good time. I don't want to just bring them from place to place to place to place to place.
That's right. Well, Thanksgiving we do Thursday with Amanda's family, Friday with my family. That's super cool.
Yeah. Perfect.
And then Christmas, we just stay home. We're like, the hell with it. We are staying home.
Especially when you have kids, you just want to stay home. You want to stay home, let them wake up, open the toys, and just hang out. Like, you don't want to have to just be like, okay, I'm glad you enjoy these toys. Now put them away because we have to go somewhere. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I get that.
Yep.
Also, another trigger, unrealistic expectations for hosting, gift giving, or traditions. Traditions, yep. Like, if you carry on a tradition and then your kids or your friend, like nobody else gives a shit about it, you know what I mean? You're like, that kind of hurts a little bit sometimes in the moment, but you also have to know that in the future, I hope your family's going to look at that and be like happy. Like the tradition that I like so I've noticed a lot of other families do too. It's like making a bunch of different like Christmas cookies, putting them in a little box, and then dropping them off to all of your loved ones' houses.
Yes.
I don't know if that's a Midwest thing.
I don't know, but
dude, I love that shit. I'm here for it. That's my favorite gift ever. Like,
I know it's a fat fan
anything
thing.
Else. What's that?
I know it's like a fat fan thing.
Dude, I love that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And like literally last year, so we'll do it a few days before Christmas.
Yeah.
And I'll get my kids, we'll turn on the Christmas movies, Christmas music, like we're fucking feeling it. And we're just making a ton of like different types of cookies and stuff for all of our friends and family. And then it's like, I don't know when we do it. I can't remember if it's like the weekend before, but then we'll go deliver them. And we'll take a day and we'll play Christmas music in the car. We'll go get like hot chocolate or whatever. And then we'll just go deliver them to all of our friends. And not to intrude. Like we don't knock on the door. We don't ring the doorbell. We just drop it at the door and then take off. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to get, the holidays are stressful. You got your own schedule. I'm not trying to interrupt, but like, you know, drop a present off. And it's like, and it's fun. And like the kids are starting to enjoy it. And now I'm like, it's cool. You can create your own tradition. It takes time. But I'm so thankful that I got to start doing that with my family because I love it. Like it's my favorite thing. You know, and last year, like we were leaving our house to go drop it off at your house.
I think so, because I was dropping cookies off right
at
as
our
I
house at the same time.
Yes,
to do the same thing that we were doing.
Yeah,
I was just like, God, the Midwest is the best sometimes. Yes. I just assume that's a Midwestern thing. But yeah, so just appreciate stuff. Don't set unrealistic expectations. And then comparison fueled by social media's curated holiday perfection, which I think most of us are over really at this point. Like I don't see a lot of that. I mean, I do see some of it, but I think we're all coming back to like reality as far as like, listen, we all got some shit going on, right? We're doing our best. It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Again, mental health impact during the holidays. It increases stress, anxiety, and feelings of inadequacy like we talked about before. Do you have any stories of holiday moments where perfectionism may have gotten in the way of you enjoying the season? Brad Tholomew?
Yeah, no, not really. Well, I guess my family not getting like, we're very go with the flow.
Yeah.
And other families are not so go with the flow. They're more like needing a plan.
Yeah, my family's super. I got super lucky with my family too.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like,
even if stuff wasn't perfect, everybody would fucking roll with it like a champ.
Yeah.
I remember do you remember the first holiday you ever hosted at your house for your family?
Yeah.
I do. We didn't have enough chairs. We had to like put, the card table next to a dinner table next to like an end table, like so everybody had a room to eat.
Yep.
And then we ran out of chairs and we were in a small cramped apartment. It was Ashley and I's apartment. And then we had these like those, do you remember those 80s, 90s plastic chairs? So the chair frame was metal, but it was like this plastic almost tubing that was like on the back of the seat.
Oh yeah.
You remember those? Those were everywhere, dude.
Yes.
We had some of those from the garage and we brought them inside and opened them up. My aunts and my uncles and shit are sitting in these fucking chairs. They have nice houses that we could have went to, but no, like we wanted to do it at our house because my wife and I were like living on our own for the first time and we're like, we're our own people.
We are
like we can have Thanksgiving at our house. And like, if I didn't have the family I have, it would have been a traumatic. It would have been traumatic. But like my family was just like, all right, cool. Like nobody said shit. Everybody was cool about it. We had a great time. Everything was fine. You know what I mean? I'm like, thank God that I have those people in my life. And just know that you can be that person for other people when things aren't going perfect, So veteran specific challenges. Transitioning from the military life to the civilian life kind of can heighten perfectionist tendencies, I think, because I think you might feel like you have more of a reason to prove yourself, or it's more of an opportunity to show that, in the military, perfectionism is regarded as being like a sought after thing is valuable. I'm not saying it's not valuable in the civilian world, but there were times where that perfectionist attitude like backfired on me. Like I remember one of my first jobs, I worked in a warehouse, and the people there were super nice. I didn't, it's not that I didn't get along with them, but I was working, and I'm not trying to sound like arrogant or whatever. I was working really hard. Like I was getting shit done. Like my whole job was to load stuff into a fucking semi trailer, and that was my job. So if that's my job, I'm going to do it as quickly as possible. Like I'm going to do it as efficiently as possible. And so I was getting it all done, and then everybody else was like, "Dude, what are you doing, man?" Like they were giving me shit 'cause how hard I was working. They were like, "Dude, you got to slow that shit down." And again, coming from the military side, I get that to a degree. E4 Mafia, I get that to a degree, but also like I had a hard time with that too. And I just felt like that alienated me, like I can't work that hard. Like I don't like having that governor put on me. If I want to work hard, if I want to do what I want to get the job done. You know what I mean? So sometimes that can make things a little harder. But especially when you're trying to create a perfect civilian holiday experience for family or friends, like that can be hard because you miss some holidays if you were in the military, possibly. Like you missed holiday, but you were overseas. When you were in Okinawa, you were with Amanda, you were with your wife.
Correct.
But your family was still at home, right?
Like as far as my
parents.
Oh, yeah.
Brothers, sisters.
Yeah.
So was it hard for you to miss those holidays, or was it easy because you still had the family of the military, like the other people, or?
So the first Christmas I remember, it still sucked because like so being a cook, we had to work. We never not worked. So, but the first Christmas we all sat because nobody could afford to go home, and we all just played Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And that's
nice.
That's what it's all in the barracks, just all.
Yeah, dude.
And that's what
wires everywhere from room to room. Yep.
And that was it. No, that was the first Christmas. So yeah, and then after that, it got better once Amanda came out. But yeah, it sucked.
Yeah,
because it was just like two of us, and we are like, okay, this is gay. Like this is dumb, Like it's
holidays away were really hard.
Yeah,
like I would always decorate my room for Christmas. Because I fucking love Christmas. So, like, my wife would send me Christmas lights, and I'd fucking put them up in my room and stuff. Like, I was all about it. And I remember I had I'm pretty sure Thanksgiving, I was at this little, we called it a COP. It was a combat outpost. So, it's like a little base in the middle of nowhere. And I believe we were at the COP. It was COP Najil in Afghanistan in the Lagman province. And, we all were eating, I forget what they made. They couldn't make, if my memory serves me correctly, we couldn't get a hold of turkey or anything. And they made spaghetti, and they made spaghetti for everybody, and everybody got sick. That's all I remember. If I remember that right, like I'm pretty sure that happened around Thanksgiving. And I remember eating on Christmas. I remember going to the governor's compound in Medarlam, Afghanistan, to tell a bunch of people that don't celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas, courtesy of the U.S. government. And nice. I was doing security for them. And, in New Year's, I remember being with one of my really good friends. I haven't talked to him in a long time, though. He was a sergeant at the time. His last name was Oleksak, Polish dude. And he was the first guy to give me alcohol overseas. Like he had it in a Monster can. It's okay. I'm out of the military. He might still be in, but it's fine.
Nice.
And he gave me a sip of his Monster can, and we walked outside, and they were shooting off mortars for New Year's. You know what I mean? And like those moments, even though you're alone, like even though I was alone, because I was around people that I cared about, I felt safe around, I still had a positive experience, but then you get home, but you didn't get to do all the traditional stuff.
No.
So when I got home, especially because I love Christmas, I was like way more in Christmas mode. When I got home, I'm like, we're fucking decking some halls, bro. You know what I mean? Like we're going out.
Yeah.
But then I got too Christmased out because I started watching Christmas movies in like October, and that's too soon. I understand now waiting until around Thanksgiving. to get into the holiday spirit. Because then at that point, it's like I've watched 4 Christmases like 87 times. I'm like, all right, I'm tapped out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm over it. And I don't like feeling that way. I like looking forward to Christmas a lot and the holidays in general. But yeah, so transitioning from the military side to the civilian side, missing out on all those holidays sucks. And I understand how it makes you want to feel like you want to make it so much more perfect when you get home. But to find some strategies for embracing imperfection, one important thing you should do is you should reframe your holiday expectations. So focus on connection and like enjoying each other.
What?
In meaning, over appearances, materialism. You know what I mean? I don't care about getting presents or gifts. I really don't. Like, other than like, I love the home baked stuff. When people drop out like cookies on Christmas, I love that. I love cards. I love
you say carbs?
Cards.
Oh.
And carbs.
I was going to
say and cards.
I was say we know, Eric.
I love both of those things.
I can feel your gravitational pull.
Oh, I love it. It's fine.
I'm just kidding.
But I love cards. I love personal things. I like sentimental things. I like, regardless of what the gift is, when someone gives me a gift and I can tell that they just put thought into it, oh my God, that means so much in comparison to like, if you walk into any grocery store, around the holidays and they got that little bundle pack that you can give away as a gift of like cologne or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And those are fine. I'm not dogging on that stuff. You know what I mean? Either. But when somebody gives me Robin Senesac, he gave us the challenge coin, E4 Mafia challenge coin. I'm like, dude, stuff like that. You know what I mean? When Ashley, my wife, gave us the I'm F.I.N.E podcast hats.
Yes.
Like, stuff like that just means a lot. I love meaning behind the gift because, as far as like gifts are concerned, if I want something, I will buy it if I need it. If I don't need it, then I probably don't have it. So I don't need it as a gift. But if it's the holidays and, it should be about the meaning. It should be about the connection. So, and you can make that happen no matter what. You can make that happen anywhere. Whether it's here in the civilian world or overseas, because again, I found connection and meaning thousands of miles away from my family in a Connex box, a fucking trailer, late at night with a bunch of miscellaneous people from all over the country that I was just deployed with. We found connection and meaning in those moments. You can find connection and meaning back here. It doesn't have to be perfect. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You have to embrace things being good enough. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay if it's just good enough. And you have to shift from perfection to just progress because good enough is oftentimes good enough.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So some practical tips. Prioritize what truly matters. So make yourself a list if you need to of must-haves versus nice-to-haves. Delegate tasks. You don't have to do everything yourself. Let's talk about that shit for a second. I feel I have room for improvement with this. I want to help out my wife more around the holidays because of that anxiety that she gets sometimes where she's like, we got this going on, that going on. Like, I know I got to step up my game and I got to help out more with things. So, I mean, delegating tasks, it's really important. And if you're getting that task delegated to you, you got to understand that that's important, And also, I think a really important thing with all of this, especially when it comes to like giving yourself some grace and some self-care, is like your inner voice.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I don't feel like we really talk about ever. Like, I don't remember many times in my life where anybody ever talked to me about like, what's your inner voice like? Because we all have an inner voice that directs everything that we do, that makes us feel better or worse about any given situation. Like, it's important that you focus on what your inner voice is saying to you, right?
Mine changes every day.
Do people talk about this a lot? Have people? I just don't feel like growing up, people asked me, like, how do you talk to yourself? Like, I ask my daughter, like my oldest daughter, I ask because she understands. When we go to bed sometimes, I'll ask her, hey, how have you been talking to yourself? Are you saying good things? Are you saying bad things? Like, what are you saying to yourself? You know what I mean? Because I don't know. And she's like, well, she'll tell me what she's being critical about or what she loves about herself. And I'm like, good. It's good that you're telling yourself you love yourself. Like, you need to be saying that shit to yourself. You know what I mean? I mean, and again, I'm not faulting my parents. I love my parents. I feel like my parents did a great job. I'm not faulting my environment, but I just don't feel like it was discussed much. Like how we are talking to ourselves when I was growing up.
I agree. I think it's more talked about now.
Yeah.
Like in today's society.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's important. You know, it's important. Like we were talking about earlier, like telling somebody else you love them. Yeah. Like I've told dudes since doing this stuff with Fat, I've told men that I love them and they've cried in response. Cried. Like what? You know, it makes me sad that you had to have that type of reaction because that makes me assume that nobody's ever told you that they loved you or that you didn't feel like you were worthy of being loved. You know what I mean? So like having an inner voice is so important. Having a positive inner voice and understand, like you said, it changes every day. You have to work on it every day. You know what I mean? And mine is either Morgan Freeman or Samuel L. Jackson.
Really?
One or the other.
So aggressive.
That's my inner voice.
Wow.
Well, it's Morgan Freeman like 75% of the time. But like when my kids are acting up, Samuel Jackson. You know what I mean? Like that's my inner voice for fucking sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. Also, practice saying no. This is something that I appreciate. It's okay to skip something. So it's okay to skip a party for a potluck or whatever. It's okay. And this is a two-part thing again. Know that it's okay if you skip a party or event or whatever. And on the other side of that, know it's okay if somebody skips your thing.
Yes.
I try to do my best to never make anyone feel bad if they can't come to one of my things. So I'm like, all right, man, I get it. It's fine. Life happens because that's how I would want somebody to treat me.
Yeah.
You know, I know you care about me. So if you can't come to my thing, it's fine. I can assume that there's a good reason for that. And if that reason is that you're too exhausted because of the holiday season, that's a good enough reason for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
dude.
So I don't need an explanation. I'm not going to guilt you. Don't worry about it. Like you can give that gift to other people too. So, you know, understand that that's a two-way street. Set realistic and flexible goals. Learn to celebrate small wins and focus on effort over outcome. I definitely agree with that. You know, somebody putting a lot of effort into something means something. So like paying attention to that over necessarily just how it goes. Embrace vulnerability. Recognize the power in admitting mistakes or seeking help. I need to get so much better in that. I'm getting better at that.
Yeah.
I think that's something I could always be better at, but yeah, admitting that you need help and you're not doing well.
Yeah. I've gotten pretty good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to be able to be that self-aware. And also, again, we have to not make people feel bad for admitting that they're wrong or making a mistake. When someone makes a mistake and admits that they made that mistake, that gives you an opportunity in that moment. If you act like an asshole, they're not going to want to admit that they made a mistake ever again because you were a dick.
Yep.
Like if you can just try to like not make them feel bad, appreciate the fact that they recognize that they made that mistake. You know what I mean? Like they will be at least more likely to talk to you about it next time. So like don't make people feel bad for that, you know? As people, we can help others reset their own expectations. Like, are you worried about this not going perfect because you think I'm not going to love you? You know what I mean? Like, why does this dinner have to be perfect to you? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
because I'm going to care about you no matter what. So like, it doesn't matter if the roast is on fire or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Great Gam Gam says some super racist shit. Like either way, it's totally fine. Do not worry about it. You know what I mean? You get to reset someone's expectations when you have that attitude, I think. Like I said, you got to let people know it's okay to make mistakes. And I found that a study led by Madeline Ferrari, super cool name.
Bet you she's really fast.
Super fast. From the Australian Catholic University in Sydney, Australia, found that self-compassion can help protect against depression in people with perfectionistic tendencies. No shit.
Yeah, right?
Like, if you're nice to yourself, it'll help you not be sad.
And it will
Thanks,
not lead to
scientists.
early death.
And it won't lead to premature death. Yeah, if you're nice to yourself, you're probably not going to be as depressed because you're being nice to yourself. But again, it's crazy the impact, the quality of your thoughts can have on like your entirety as a person. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think people realize that how
it's hard. It's a profound concept. Like my brain can control so much. Like, wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
your mind is powerful. It's crazy how much your mind can do.
It just has a real effect over your body. It releases hormones if you just feel sad. Like all that shit's crazy to me.
Yes.
So Ferrari and her colleagues say that the practice of self-kindness consistently reduces the strength of the relationships between maladaptive perfectionism and depression for both adolescents and adults. You may think that self-compassion is something that you either have or you don't, but Professor Paul Hewitt, that I had mentioned earlier, is hopeful that certain forms of psychotherapy can help people perceive their harsh self-beliefs and change them gently over time. So yeah, it's like if you've never been nice to yourself and don't know how to do that, it's going to take time. You should probably find a clinician or someone that you can talk to about that if you're not saying good things to yourself, or if it's impossible for you to say good things to yourself. Like it's not that it was hard for me to start giving myself compliments or just saying nice things to myself. It just feels so awkward. It just felt weird for me. You know what I mean? But it's not that like I would sit on things and let myself get an ego about it. It's like just allowing yourself to be proud. Like, enjoy this moment. Look at this moment. Like you exerted some energy that helped create this thing you get to feel. You know what I mean? Like appreciate that, enjoy that and then move on. I think that's a big part of self-kindness, is being able to understand that. Or lower your standards.
Lower your standards.
Look at our wives. They lowered their standards for us.
Pretty low.
And they're okay.
Yeah, they're fine. They turned out fine.
They seem happy enough. So you can still lower your standards. You know what I mean? Just to be clear, I'm saying that they lowered their standards to marry us.
Oh, yeah.
So we're being, super clear with that.
Okay.
Also important, mindfulness and gratitude. I think you definitely have been doing amazing.
Thank you.
With your mindfulness and for your gratitude. What are some ways that you engage in mindfulness exercises to stay present?
Yep.
And that would be a way to reduce, that overwhelming feeling people get in the holidays.
Yeah, dude, I meditate every day.
So like how? What do you do when you meditate? Like sit cross-legged, fingers held, or like
I don't, but that is exactly how I sit. Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Does that just feel more comfortable?
So I was hypnotized to when I put my fingers like this to get a sense of relaxation and calmness. But I was hypnotized to do that.
Yeah.
So I sit like this.
Yeah.
I cross my legs. And the first thing I do is I focus on my breath. I watch it enter my body. All the good, clean, positive energy enter my body. And all the anger and negative energy leave my body. And I watch that happen. And then I take one more deep breath. And like I watch the air in, watch it leave. And then I go downstairs, 1 to 10. I see numbers lit up in a color with each step. And with every step I go down, I get more relaxed. And then I go through after I get to number 10, I get through a tunnel of light. And then I usually go to my happy place, which usually happens to be a beach.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then whatever I need usually tells me and during that time. And then once whatever I get what I need. So for example, so like today during my meditation, my dad was there again.
Cool.
Which was super cool. And he was just kind of like, hey, you're doing a good job. I'm proud of you. And we just kind of talked for a while.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
It was super cool.
Nice.
And like, I don't know if I told you this, but the other day when I did my meditation, it was Amanda and I just sitting there talking on the beach. And then her parents came up and her dad's like, hey, let's talk. And I was like, all right, yeah, let's go talk. And we just like went for a walk and he like shook my hand. He said, thanks. And I was like, for what? You know, and he's like, oh, you know, for just taking care of my daughter and providing her a good life and stuff. I was like, oh, you're welcome. And he goes, it's never going to happen in real life, but you'll get it here. And then he hugged me. And I was like, all right, cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. That's where you go when you meditate. You just let your mind go to that space and see what it pulls out.
Yep. And then
I like that. That's cool.
And then once I get whoever I see, or maybe I go by myself or whatever happens on the beach happens. And then I'll always go into like a deeper state where I walk into the water. So I'll start at 1 where it's at my feet, 2 it's at my knees, 3 it's at my waist, 4 it's at my neck, and 5 I'm even further relaxed, and then I'm basically floating in the water, like sinking into darkness, and eventually it just gets dark.
Okay, hold on, sorry. So in this, are you sinking deeper into the water, or are you floating on the top of the water?
Basically sinking and floating, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You're like sinking into darkness, but like still just feel like you're floating in water, if that makes sense.
No, I feel that's really cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep.
That sounds very relaxing.
Yeah, and then at that point, as I'm sinking and floating, like it's cool because your body's asleep but your mind is awake. So at that point, that's when I do my like positive reinforcements, I guess. Like I am love, I am positive energy. So
I like that.
Yeah.
That's way deeper than any type of meditation I've ever done.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty serious into it, dude. I'm getting really
yeah, because in my mind, whenever I've meditated, and really, I think the only times I think I've really meditated is like when I'm in a float tank.
Yeah.
Because it's just easier for me because it's like sensory deprivation. But like in my mind, like I think I've talked about it before, when I try to meditate, it's not me progressively moving into a deeper state of calm. It's just me taking all the ideas in my head and then letting them freely flow out and just see what it is that I'm trying, it's like there's a billion things bouncing around at once, and I'll just pull an idea out and I'll think about that idea in its entirety for a moment, and then I'll be like, okay, and then I just move that out, and then I take another one out, and then I just do that in my head, and I pull out thought after thought after thought. And eventually I'll get to this point where I feel like I've reached the end. And when I reach the end, I find this peace, this calmness, because I've gone through all the thoughts in my head. I feel clear.
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, I got them all out now. And then I sit there in that peace.
Yeah.
For as long as I can. And then sometimes in that moment, things will come to mind, like memories and stuff like that. And I'll sit there and hold them for a minute, and then I'll move on to the next one. I feel like everybody that doesn't meditate knows that they need to meditate like more often. You know what I mean? Like I know I need to work on that for sure.
Yeah.
I was doing it. I haven't done my float tank in forever, but when I would do the float tank, it's like forced meditation because you get into that freezing cold water and you gotta fucking focus on something. You know what I mean? Like, because it's so cold. So you just hop in there and it kind of helps you meditate. But I definitely understand why it's helpful. Also, like what you were saying earlier with how you do it, it reminded me a little bit about like the Buddhist meditation stuff that I've read where they say like I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out. You telling yourself that, brings you so much more present to the moment because you're doing the thing and telling yourself that you're doing the thing.
Yeah.
And so it's impossible to not be in this moment when you do that. So like, I get it. I get why that works because I've done walking meditations where I walk and I think, breathing in, breathing out. I'm taking a step with my left foot. I'm taking a step with my right foot.
Yep.
And yeah, man, it's like hard for that to not calm you down a little bit.
Yeah, dude, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so know that even if you have the military style adaptability, improvise, adapt, and overcome, like that was beaten into our heads, it's just you can't obsess about stuff. And you got to understand when you get home, things might not be perfect, and that's okay. You have to remember how important it is to be a part of a team and have that shared effort. I think it's important to recognize that military training emphasizes perfection in critical areas, but you have to apply a different mindset to non-life or death situations. Like, yeah, life or death, you got to be dialed the fuck in. Aim small, miss small. Like that was, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. But if it's a non-life or death, it's okay if it's not perfect.
Like turn down a couple notches.
Turn it down. Like take like 10% off.
All right.
I mean, can you think of some times when, like, how you responded when a plan or mission doesn't go perfectly? Because that was like every mission I ever fucking went on. I think there was maybe a handful of times where you're like, this mission went perfectly. You know what I mean? I don't know.
No.
That's because I was just like a grunt, like things would go wrong. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you just expect shit to go wrong. And again, in the infantry, man, I feel like the infantry mentality, you just expect shit to go wrong.
I think that's just the military.
Also,
it's just Murphy's Law. If it's going to go wrong, it will go wrong.
Yeah. You're like, I'm sleeping outside. What's that? It's going to rain? That sounds about right.
Of course it is.
Sounds about right. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know that you can have that mentality. You have that mentality when it comes to certain things. You can apply that same mentality back at home. And it's a super beneficial mentality. And I've realized that I can pull that in. And even when things are going fucking terrible, like I can still have that, like, again, you're just like, well, you know what I mean? Like,
it's all right.
All right. It'll be fine. It's important to build a supportive network of peers to help put perfectionism into perspective. So like this past weekend, we did a little Friendsgiving. You know what I mean?
We did.
I love it.
I do.
I love the Friendsgivings. Like, they're one of my favorite traditions because I don't know how other people's Friendsgivings are, but all my Friendsgivings are chill as hell. Like, it's like, hey, man, wear your pajamas. Like, nobody cares. Like, everybody gets it. The holidays are stressful. Just bring some food. We're going to hang out. We're not going to make a big deal out of anything. Like, when we went to the Friendsgiving this past weekend, our friend Kristen's, that's how it was. Everybody just shows up, brings food, hangs out, kids are running around. You know what I mean? Like, get there when you get there. Don't worry about it. Don't stress. It's fine. You know what I mean? Just come hang out and get a plate, and then, you know, you can leave whatever you want. Nobody cares. Like, those are my favorite because it's just, those are the memories I want my kids to have. Running around, going over to our friend's house to celebrate Thanksgiving, having a good time, laughing, getting to see that uncle, see that aunt, play with these cousins, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's the great. You have to appreciate that. And it's not perfect, but it's amazing. Like, you're going to think about it forever. You don't remember perfect shit. You remember all the imperfect shit. Like, you remember when stuff doesn't go right. You know what I mean? And usually, even when stuff doesn't go right, as long as nobody got hurt, you usually look at it like, thankfully, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, man, you know, it's nice to think about that moment. You know what I mean? So it's important to know that perfectionism can steal the joy of the holidays, but with intentionality and grace, it's possible to enjoy a more relaxed and meaningful season. We all need to commit to letting one thing at least be imperfect, whether it's leaving the house undecorated, buying cookies instead of baking them, whatever. So I mean, other than that, Brad, you got anything else about being perfect?
I mean, no. It is hard though.
I'm sure it is.
I do it every day, man. So
son of a bitch, I know you do.
It's hey.
Well, then I just want to thank everybody out there for listening. Wait, before I finish,
Yes.
Did you not have
I
something
do.
that one of our listeners sent in?
I do. Would
Did
you
you?
like me to read it, or would you like to read it?
Either way, buddy.
Oh man, here we go. I will read it, but it's gonna be super clunky.
I believe in you, buddy.
Thanks,
You
dude.
just gotta believe in yourself.
Thanks, man.
Positive self-talk.
I can do this. I'm positive self-singing.
Better be fucking perfect.
I am perfect. Oh man, trying to find stuff when you're blind is hard. Okay, here we go. So this is from a fellow listener. Her name is Claudia. And this is Claudia's take on perfection. She says, I used to struggle with perfectionism. I was always concerning myself with the details of dinner, decor, and gifts, that I was not able to be present with with our extended family who came to visit. As I got older, I learned that my mental health and quality time with loved ones vastly outweighs the the glitz and bows and picture perfect holiday dinners.
Mm-hmm.
People were there to see us, not our home or dinner layout.
Yep.
I meditate on this, and perfectionism melts away. These days, for Thanksgiving, my husband and I go to our local community center for a great dinner, and come home for a relaxing afternoon. For Christmas, we usually travel to see the kids and grandkids. My son-in-law makes a delicious wild game dinner from his freezer. We have a fun quality time with the family while opening presents. Our kids work hard to make Christmas great for their kids, and we help out when we get there. But with 4 kids, they've figured out their own on their own that there may be a time and a place for perfectionism, but the holiday season isn't one of them. That's from Claudia.
Yeah. I touched on a lot of things that we'd already mentioned. You know what I mean? Like, as far as how it feels when you're passing that torch to your kids and then getting to watch them. And then, all that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's also really cool because Claudia's the best.
Claudia's awesome.
And she's a real life female John Wick, I feel like. You know what I mean? As far as like how proficient she is with firearms.
But she's also awesome because we're getting sushi and pedicures. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, Claudia.
Thank you, Claudia.
And thanks for taking Brad out for sushi and pedicures.
Sushi and pedicures. Actually, I'm taking Claudia. I'm driving.
I care about Claudia very much. I don't know if that's the best idea, depending on how far away that is.
Whatever.
Other than that, Bradley, what else do you have to say about perfectionism? Other than how tired you are of being it.
Yeah.
So much.
I think that's it, man. I got nothing. I think that's a great episode.
I think we did good. Not bad for the 172nd best episode in Cambodia.
Not
Mental
bad.
health podcast in Cambodia. So thank you again out there for listening. Please continue to listen, share, like, subscribe, all those things. And I hope that we were able to help you out a little bit. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you enjoyed it. You know, here is to a perfectly imperfect holiday season. Stay safe, stay sane. We'll see you next time. I'll see you next time.
I'll hear you next time.
Brad will feel you next time.
Yes. I can
So until next time, we hope we helped you go from being freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional to truly being fine about being perfectly imperfect.